Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Jacqueline, and if you're new here, my name is Jacqueline, like I just said, and I am back with another video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make the quilt by Lori Hope called Bring It Home the Christmas Tree. And this is the book right here. In this book, this is the Lori Hope book. And in this book, I'm going to show you how I make and cut out the Bring It Home the Christmas Tree pattern. And that is this one right here. See? So this is the quilt that I'm going to make. And I'm going to show you how I make it and how I cut this out using a die system. Okay? Here is a sample of what the block is going to look like. It's a tree on top of a station wagon. Now when I made this block, I used a rotary cutter to cut this out, okay? And this is what the quilt looks like. I made this quilt maybe 2-3 years ago, a long time ago. And I still have not got it quilted yet. So this is what the quilt looks like. Right here we have trees, and then down here we have the car. Right there. Okay. And this is a large quilt. So anyhow, this is the quilt that I'm going to make, and I'm going to show you how I cut out the pieces, and there's a lot of pieces. So I'm going to show you how I cut out the pieces using a die system, not a rotary cutter. This quilt house, this block has like 40 pieces in it. So it takes a long time to cut this out with a rotary cutter. I cut out a rotary cutter when I made this, but now I'm going to use a die system. Now if you don't know what a die system is, it's the Quilt die system. And what I did was I went through and I wrote down all the measurements, and then I had a die made for that block. And Quilt has another company called Custom Shape Pro, and it's where you can have a custom die made of your own. You send them the measurements, and then they'll send you back a drawing, and if the drawing looks correct, then you approve it and pay for it, and then they'll create a die for you. Now, this one block here, most blocks would fit on one die board, okay? This block here, well, this is what the die look like. This is a die board, okay? This is what it looks like. It's by Quilt. This is a custom die I had made, and then I purchased it. And this is what the die board looks like. And this particular block is on 4 die boards. Now, if I knew that earlier, I would not have had these custom dies made, because most blocks will fit on just one board. Meaning this board will have all the pieces on it to cut out one block. This block here, it took 4 boards, 4 of these, to get all the pieces on the board. All those pieces will not fit on one board or 2 boards. It took 4 of these to get that one block on. Took 4 of these to get that one block. And the block has about 42 pieces. Now, these boards are expensive, okay? This board is like $250 or $269.99, something like that. They're very expensive. And I got 4 of them for that one block. So these 4 boards cost me about $1,000, $986. The 4 boards, and then they also charge you to make the pieces dark gray. The board is light gray. This is the board's light gray, and the shades are in dark gray. So there's a cost to have the shades in dark gray. Otherwise, all the shades are the same color as the board, and that makes it hard to see the shades. But with the shades being a darker color, you can see the shades better. And they charge you $10 per board to make the shades a different color than the board. Okay, this is the board, the light gray, and then this are all the shades. And this is 1 of 4 for that block. This is die 1. Okay, and then this is die 2. I have sticky notes on here. And then this is die 3. And then die 4 is a little smaller, but it was $179.99. This is die 4. So to get that one block, all those pieces onto a die board, it took 4 boards because the pieces are all different shapes and sizes. As you can see here, there's long pieces and short pieces. Pieces are all different shapes and sizes. Look at the light gray. That's the shape. And they're all different shapes. But what I like about this system is that it makes cutting way faster, and you don't have any dog ears to cut off or points to cut off, because with the die system, all the points are cut off for you automatically. So, that goes there. So, okay. So these are the boards. Like I said, they're very expensive to have custom die made, to have custom dies made. They're spendy. This was almost $1,000. That's a lot. I won't do that again. Like I said, most of the time a block will fit on just one board or maybe 2 boards, but 2 smaller boards. Let me show you what a smaller board looks like. Hold on. This is what a smaller board looks like. Sometimes a block would be on 2 of these, but this is like $70. So 2 of these is like $140. That's affordable. But, and if this is an Precut die. This is not a custom one. This is an Precut one that I purchased. But these I had custom made, all 4 of these for that one block. And like I said, that block has like 42 pieces. And so I'm going to show you how I cut out that block using the Precut die board. Okay, so let's get started. We are going to start with, let's see, we will start, let's start with this one. This is the, also what I did was I had the shapes. I had them put certain shapes together so that I can just lay a fat quarter on here and just cut them out. So, all right. The sticky notes are just my notes, so I know which pieces are what. Okay, so this is the book. If you want to purchase this book, this is what the book looked like. Lori Hope. Vintage Christmas. This is a really, really old book. I bought my book at Joann Fabric, which we don't have anymore. And I bought this many, many, many years ago. This is a really old book, but I'm sure you can find it on Amazon. Oh, this is what the front looks like. So I'm sure you can find it on Amazon. I paid $40 for this back in the day. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I cut out, my glasses, how I cut out this block. Now we're going to start with we're going to cut out the car body first. Okay, so we are going to cut out the car body first. All the pieces that you see on this board is for the body of the car. And when I say the body of the car, we're talking under the windows. So you see this here, the body of the car be the blue. Not the tires, but just the body. So we're going to cut out that first. Okay. Put my note here. Now, so what I did, oh, and you can cut out 6 cars. You can cut out 6 different cars in one pass. Meaning I can layer 6 fabrics on here and cut out 6 cars. And that's how many cars in the quilt is 6. 6 cars. This quilt has 6 cars in it. If you look at this here, you got 6 cars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you got 4 trees. 4 sets of trees. Now we also want to cut out these trees too, but we're going to do that in another. I'm going to do that in a different video. Right now we're just going to cut out the car with the tree on top of it. So I got my fat quarters, and there's 6 of them here. I've already pressed them and rough cut them out. They're not perfect. They don't have to be perfectly cut, just rough cut. So I'm going to bring you down to the table. Okay. So here is a die board. Okay. And here's 6 fat quarters. I cut it down. And what you do is you lay, you want to cover up each shape. Now, because there's a lot of shapes on this board, I'm just going to lay a fat quarter across the board. Normally I would just cover this shape, this shape, this shape, this shape, this shape, and so on. But because the whole board is pretty much covered with shapes, I'm just going to lay a fat quarter across the shapes. And so I'll get some waste, but that's okay. I'm not going to rough cut each piece because they're so close together that it's easy to just lay a fat quarter across. Now my fat quarter is not long enough to go all the way, so I'm going to cover up this here first. I'm going to cover up this section here, and here is my fat quarter. There's 6 of them. There's 6 of these, so I'm going to just cover them up and make sure they're all lined up. So I'm going to just cover. I'm going to cover the whole die board. Okay, so all of those are covered. Now we still have these pieces to cover. Because my fabric is not long enough, I'm just going to take this piece, which is the rest of the fat quarter, 6 pieces, and I'm going to lay that over this. And you cannot overlap because you can only cut 6 at a time. And that would be considered 12. So it has to be just over the shape. So I'll put this. And they did put these pieces pretty close together. You can ask them to space them further out, but I forgot. So they're pretty close together. And then this little piece here, which is the same fat quarter, I'm going to cover up this, cover up that. Do it this way, yeah. And then we're going to have this piece to cover up this end. And then we just do like that. Yep, like that. Yeah, can I do that? No. That, and then cut that. So because my fat quarter is not as long as my board, this board is 6 by, I think, 29 or 24. And so my fat quarter isn't long enough, so I just cut the fat quarter into pieces. But these are 6 layers of fabric. So when I run this through the machine, I'm going to have 6 different car body parts. Okay? here is my Quilt cutting machine. So if you guys never heard of Quilt, go to just Google Quilt.com and it should come up. And this is the Go Cutter. What do you call it? Go Cutter or Go Big Cutter. And what you do is you open it out, it's folded up. So you want to open it out like this. You want to open it out. You want to move your board out the way. So you want to open it like this. And this is a hand crank. It does not plug into the wall. They do have one that plugs into the wall, but this one does not. This one does not. Now, we also have a cutting mat that we have to put on top of the die board, okay? So this is our cutter. And then here is our die. I got it covered with 6 layers of fabric. Yep. And it doesn't matter which way you put it in. And then you have to put a mat. This is a cutting mat. It's bendable. So you want to put this over your die board. Okay, so it looks like this. And then you want to put it on here. And this is a new die. And so it's going to be a little stiff going through because it's new. But after I ran it through a few times, then it won't be so stiff. Okay, so what you do is you lay this on here. And then you just turn the handle. You have to give it a little push. Especially when it's a new die. And then it just starts going through. And it's coming out through the other side. Make sure making sure nothing moves, okay? So you just go through here. And I always put my hand on it to keep the mat onto the fabric. And this, like I said, it's a little stiff because this is a brand new die. But once you've used it a few times, it goes through a lot faster. But we also have 6 layers of fabric, which is the max. And you don't have to use 6, but 6 is the max. Oh, okay. And here we go. Okay. Now here's the magic. Let's move this out the way, make room. And now, guys, here is the magic. You want to rub it. Sometimes the fabric pieces will stick to the mat, and I want them to stay on the board so they look pretty. And let's see if we can get this off without. Okay. Yeah, let's see. Get this out. I want the pieces to stay on the board. And because it's static, the first one usually sticks to the board, and they're sticking to the board. And I'll slide it off like that. Here you go. This is the mat, okay? And they did kind of mess up, but that's okay. I'm going to show you guys the magic here. Okay, so this is what the board is looking like. Okay? Now, we're going to take off the scraps. So can you see me? Yeah, okay. Let's start with this one here, the big one. So, and I put my hand on top of the pieces so they don't come up because it's static. And then let's see. Okay, got that off. And then we got, and sometimes you get a string that's still attached. And you can just take your scissors and cut that off. And normally I would just run like 4 fabrics through instead of the max of 6. And take this off. And we'll get all of these off. Push those down. Push those down. Oops. Okay. And here, somehow I missed the spot, so I'm just going to cut this off. sometimes the string will still be stuck. So you just cut that off with the scissors. So here is your scraps. Now, I'll keep this here piece down here. Okay, and I'll probably keep that piece and throw the rest away. And the reason I have so much scraps, so big piece of scrap, is because I just laid a fat quarter across the board. Instead of cutting out individual shapes, I just use the whole fat quarter. Since the board has so many shapes on it, I don't mind the waste, so. Okay, and this here we'll throw. Now, this is what our, okay. Here's what our pieces look like. All cut out. 6 card parts. Okay? And then here's your pieces. Now the pieces are odd shaped because all the corners are already cut off. And so instead of having rectangles and squares and long pieces of fabric, when you use the die system, you can have all the corners and things cut off. So the pieces are the exact size. They're the exact size needed. Your triangles, no dog ears. They're already cut off. There's no dog ears to cut off. They're already cut off. Okay. And then we got the long piece here. 6 pieces. Again, they're funky shapes because all the corners are already trimmed off for you. That's the beauty of the die system and having custom dies made. And these are squares because that's what the piece is going to be once it's in the quilt. It's going to be a square. And this is going to be a rectangle. And this is going to be a square. That's how the piece is in the quilt. And then this here has the corners cut off. And it's going to get sewn to another piece. And yeah. And then this one as well. So these are all the shapes for the car body. Okay. Now, let's see. So now let's cut out the, let's cut out, I'm gonna cut out the tree trunk. Okay. Now we're gonna cut out the, this is the background pieces on this here die board. So now we're going to cut out the background pieces. And I'm going to just use some yardage. I'm just going to use a whole 1 yard. I'm not going to cut the pieces down because since these pieces are so close together, except for these two, I'm just going to lay yardage across and have some extra fabric waste around here. But again, these pieces are so close together, I'm not gonna, it's kind of hard to space the fabric out, but all of this is gonna be the same color fabric, so it won't matter. So I'm gonna take my fabric and I'm gonna, we can cut up to 6 layers. So I'm gonna lay this on here and we're just gonna fold it. Okay, just gonna lay it on here and we're gonna fold it twice because we can cut up to 6 like that. And then let's see, there. So we're gonna do that. Let's see. Okay, so we got this folded. And this is 6 layers. We got 2, 4, and 6. Okay, and again, I'm going to use yardage. And the pieces are at an angle on the board. See how the pieces are at an angle? So that's how you have to put your fabric. And they do that for a reason, and I forget what the reason is. But I know it has something to do with the cutting and the dies lasting longer. So I'm just gonna cover up, let's see, over here. All right. And these two pieces, I'm gonna have to cut another piece because my fabric is not long enough. So just gonna make sure everything is covered. We don't want the savage. All right. And then we're gonna cover up those two. So I'm just gonna take some more fabric and let's just cut this. Okay, do that. And we're gonna cover the pieces here. And you know what, I'm gonna cut the pieces down because these pieces are so far apart. I'm just gonna show you how you can cover, let's see, how you can cover, see. So, okay, so, let's see. All right, so, this about 6 inches, so I'm just cutting the fabric down so that it, to cover these last pieces, and that's 4. Okay, I'm done with that. Okay, so let's cut off the edge, and we got 4 layers. We can only have 6, so let's see. Okay. All right, so cut that. Okay, so we need 6 and we have 8. So I'll take off those 2 and we're just gonna cover up this one right here. Okay, so I'm just gonna cover that one up like that. That's how you would normally do it. Just cover up the shape. But all the pieces on this board are the background color, and I had them put these pieces on this board together so that I can just cut them all at once. But normally you would just cover the shape, but because these are all close together, I'm just going to use yardage. And then we got to cover this one. And so, let's see. Okay. Yep. All right. We only need 6. 2, 4, 6. Okay. And then we're just going to take this and we're going to cover up this shape here. This last shape. Okay. And then we just put it like that. And this can hang off. That's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. And this is what our board looks like. Okay. We got these covered and then we got just use yardage. Okay. All right. Let's get our machine. Okay. Open this. And we're gonna put this up here. This can hang off. That's not a problem. You have to have a mat, otherwise nothing will happen. What it does is when you run it through the machine, it presses down onto the fabric and then it cuts into the shapes out because there's blades in the board. Okay. Again, we're cutting out 6 shapes, which gives us 6 cards. see if we can keep our pieces on our board. Yeah. Shimmy the mat off, okay? Yeah, this is what it looks like. All right, now let's take off the extra. Here's the magic. I like this. And I always put my hand on the pieces and hold them down because it's static. Now, I'm going to keep this. This is not throwaway. I'm going to keep all of this. I'm going to cut this apart. I'm going to keep this. This is good stuff. Good fabric. And then take this off. And I'm going to keep this as well because, again, this is good fabric. I just didn't cut it down. Now, this I won't keep because this is just scraps. Because I cut it really small. And, oops. And here are our, I'm going to line them back up. Here's our shapes. And these shapes are mostly squares and rectangles because this is the background of the block. It's the background, like over here. Where you see white in this block, that's what I just cut. That's the background. All this white here, that's a big rectangle. And you got white over here and white down here. So what we just did was cut out the background and also the background around the trees. So, and our shapes are already cut to size. So if you were using a rotary cutter, this would be a 6-inch square, but instead it's a triangle because it's already cut to size and all the corners are cut off. There's no corners. Okay. And then you got this here. This is going to stay this way. That's why there's no corners cut off, because in the block, it's supposed to be this size. And there we go. Here's all the pieces, background pieces. Sometimes you get a string or a thread that doesn't come off. Oh, see, I stretched it. Sometimes you get a thread that still be attached. So that's there. And then we got this here. Oops. See how you got a string that's attached? You can either rip it, but then that'll make it worse, so just cut it off. These strings, cut those off here. So we got these pieces. And this is all gonna be the background. Now, usually I only cut 4 pieces at a time just because I don't like cutting the max of 6. But I want to show you guys that you can cut out 6. And this, that you can, it cuts up, you can cut up to 6 pieces, but usually I do like 3 to 4. Because sometimes when you cut 6, you get these little strings that still attach. But also, I don't like using the max. That's just me. But now, to all these pieces, squares, rectangles, and triangles, this is the background of the quilt, okay? All right, so let's put that one here. All right, that is our background. Now, this piece here, and I put sticky notes so that I know what pieces are what. Okay, this is the card trim. This is going to be this skinny little line right here. The skinny little line. The skinny little line has its own board because it wouldn't fit on the other boards. And that's why I ended up with 4 boards. Okay, see, these pieces are all different shapes and sizes, and that's why it took so many boards to, I mean, look how long this piece is. This is 19 and a half. That's long. 19 and a half. And also, see all this extra space on this board? What I do when I remember, I have them add more smaller shapes on the board because you're paying for the board, not for how many pieces on the board. you're paying for the board first. And then you're paying for the shades to be a lighter color. And then you got your tax and your shipping. So what I do when I have a board like this and there's still a lot of space, I have them add more shapes. Like this one shape here, I could have had them add some more going across. Just to use my board. Because this is all wasted space. This is just the board here. This is the shape. These are the shapes. This is all wasted board. So what you do, if you have some custom dies made, have them add more shapes onto the board. You can say, add these going all the way across. Add them going down. Or you can just make up some shapes. You could say, just put some 2.5-inch squares on the board. Just to fill in this here extra space because you're paying for the board. And this is basically just wasted board. This is wasted space. Like over here, I got the letter V 6 times. And I only needed 2. Well, really I only needed 1. But typically with triangles, you get 2. And what I did was I had them add 4 more. And that's why I got 6. 2, 4, 6. 6 triangles. I had to add more because this board only had 3 shapes. It had this shape, and then it had one of these. And I had them add more. And if I was thinking, I should have had them add more of this one going across. They can't add another one of this because it's too long. So, wasted board space. And this board was $180 for the skinny one. And I do have a skinny mat for this board. Or you can also use this mat. But you want to use the mat that's designed for the board so that the mat doesn't like shift. This is too big to shift. So I do have a mat that's skinny like this. And these mats are like $60 for this size. So they're spendy, but it lasts a long time. Okay, so let's cut out our car trim. Be right back. Okay, now we're going to cut out the trim of the car. And that's going to be these 3 shapes, okay? So we're going to use this here fabric. And let's see. Yes, it's long enough. Okay. I'm only going to cut out 1 because I don't think I want to use this trim in all 6 blocks. So I am going to, I'm going to cut out 2. 2, yeah. I'm going to cut out 2. So, oops, you can't see me. So I'm going to cut out 2 instead of 6. First I'm going to cut this fabric down to size because it's too long for this little die. Okay, so let's cut off some of this. And I'm only going to cut 2. I'm not going to cut 6 because I want to use a different trim on each car. So we have this just rough cut. And I'm going to put this on this board. And it has to be this long because of this long piece. I think it's like 19.5. So, and this is folded in half. 2. Okay. So we're only going to do 2. And then I'm going to put this on here. Okay. All right. Actually, we can get 4. Yeah. This must be like a 1.5 strip. So let's do 4. Let's do 4. I'm just going to cover that and then we're going to fold it. Yep. That way So we'll fold this like this and we'll get 4. And then we have to cover these pieces. So let's take a piece from here. This is about we don't need that many. Let's see. Okay, I'm just rough cutting. And I'm only going to cut, you only cut, yeah, okay, so we're only going to cut just a few of these. We don't need all of them. And then we're going to cover up. And we're going to cover this last one right here. And I'll just fold it in half since it's big enough. And we'll make it 2. We don't want the savage, so that will get cut off. Okay, so this is how it's looking. Okay, and this we will keep for later. All right, now I have a smaller mat, okay, for this here. And this is a new mat, so it's going to be a little stiff going through, okay? And this is what we do. And we don't need this big one here. We don't need that one right now. All right, get a cutter. Out. And we're going to put this on here. You can also run it this way. You can go either way. So let's run it this way. How about that? This way you can see it coming through. Right. And because it's only 4 layers, it feeds through a lot faster. That's why I say maybe cut 4 layers instead of 6. 6 is the max, but probably do 4. It feeds through a lot faster because it's not as thick. Okay, ready? This is my favorite part. Let's see, shimmy it off. Okay. Well, see, that's what happens when you get static. They just go everywhere. So, let me straighten them up. We don't need the savage. That's because of the static. They go everywhere. And it's, oh no, we don't need that. All right. We need this though. We want to keep this. Okay. Let's just put it back on our board and show you how pretty this looks. I like to keep them on the board. And then we'll put this one back on top. And we'll take this piece off. And we have that. And then this we can toss. This we don't. That's our shape. And all of this here, I'm going to toss. And then this I will keep for scraps. And this is what our pieces look like. Now I didn't do this one because the fabric was too short. But I got 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Would have had 12, but this one I didn't cover. And then we got our little piece down here. Okay, so this is the card trim. This is the card trim, okay? So let's set that there. One more to cut out, then we can sew together our card. Now this one, this is the windows of the car. As you see, I got sticky notes everywhere. We got the car, we got the tire. This is the tires. Oh, here's the tires. These 3 shapes are the tires. This shape is the trunk, tree trunk. And this is the tree. Okay, now the tree is, I think there's 6 trees, and they're all the same. So I just have one tree shape, and then here's the other tree shape. It'll make sense when I sew it together. And then here are the car windows. These 3 are the car windows. And this is part of the tire, the middle piece of the tire. And then this is, oh, this is the other part of the background. 3 pieces are on this board. And see how how many pieces on this board? A lot, okay? So I'm not going to cut out the pieces and then just cover each one. I'm just going to lay a fat quarter across because there's so many pieces and we need them all. But there are going to be different colors of fabric. So I'm going to do the windows, run it through, and maybe do the trees and run it through, just because they're so close together. If they would have spaced them further apart, then it would probably be like 5 boards, and that would have been another $280. So we don't want to do that, okay? So this is actually 4 parts of the car. We got the tree trunk, the trees, we got the tires, we got the windows, we got the hubcap of the car, and then we got the rest of the background that's on here. The other 3 boards was the background, the car trim, and the car body, okay? Okay. So let me get the fabric for this. Okay, I have cut out my last of the blocks. Well, the last pieces for the block. Now, I didn't do it on video because it took me a while to find all the fabric pieces. But on this here die board, we have, let's try it this way. On this die board, we have the rest of our background pieces, these here. Then we have the hubcap of the car. And we have the windows. Then we have the tires. And then we have the tree trunk and then the trees. And so on this here board, we've got 4 different parts of the car on one board. Versus the other boards, we just had one part of the car on the board. And so we were able to cut the fabric out with one pass. And all the fabrics were the same. On this board, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different fabric pieces. And so this one took a little while to cut out because I had to find all the fabric pieces and then lay them onto the board, okay? So this is our, okay, so this is all 4 of the boards. We've got all 4 boards here. We got the little one. We've got the one with all the background, all background pieces, and then some background pieces are on the other board. That's 3 boards. And then we have the car body parts, the car body. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 boards, you guys. Wow. I don't think Quilt sells any dies that are on 4 boards. The most I've seen is 2, and 2 little ones, not big ones like these. But like I said earlier in my video, these boards are very expensive, and you want to put as many pieces on the board as possible because you're paying for the board. The board is like $250 each one. This one's like $179 because it's a little smaller. And all this, see, there's a lot of pieces here. And all these pieces are for this one block. This one block, you guys, has this many pieces. And a tree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 tree branches. But you only see 2 on here because you cut 6 at a time. Otherwise, if I put 6 of these on here, I put 2 of these on here. These here shapes, you notice the top has a point. The top one has a point, and that's this one here. You know, there's a point for the top one. And then the other ones, there's no point. They're blunt, and that's what these are. And I have this shape on here twice because there was room on the board. I have this shape once, but it's okay because you can cut 6 layers. In this case, I'm cutting 12 for the tree. And then here's the stem for the tree down here. So that's the tree. And then here is actually it's a station wagon. Okay, the trim, this long skinny piece right here, this white piece here, that's this here. That's the trim. That's this long one here. And then all our background pieces, which is all the white you see. And then here's the actual car body. So, okay, you guys. So I got all the pieces cut out to make that block. These are all the pieces on these 4 boards to make that one block. But I have 6 blocks total because there's 6 layers, which means 6 cars. Although some of these only cut out 2. I need to cut more. But this is 6 and this is 6. And I only did a couple here. Okay, so so this is going to be a long video, obviously. So the next step is I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I am going to sew together this whole block. I'm going to sew together this whole block here, okay? And also I am going to have this block in my Etsy shop. So if you guys want to make this quilt block as well, you can go to my Etsy shop and purchase it there. It's not in there yet, but it will be probably maybe in a week. I have to cut all the pieces out. And as you can see, there's a lot of pieces to cut to make that block, to make the block. So I'm going to have this in my Etsy shop. And there won't be a pattern because it's not my pattern, so I can't give you a copy of the pattern from the book. But you can watch my video and watch how I put together this block, and then you can put together a block. And once you put together one block, then all the other ones are easy because they're all the same. And so, yeah, I think that's it. And then also in the quilt, I show you some trees. That's going to be another video where we're going to make the trees. And the trees is basically, in the quilt, it shows 6 cars. And then it showed 4 trees, 4 sets of trees. So in my next video, I'm going to show you how I make the trees, which they're the same as this one. They'll be made the exact same way as this tree here. This is one of the trees, but it's just on top of the car. So, but there's a block in there where there's 3 sets of trees, and some are taller, some are shorter. I'm going to do a different video for that, and that video will be pretty quick. It'll be a short video because it's just making the trees. And once you make one of these, they're all the same. But in the quilt, she has 6 cars and 4 sets of trees, okay? All right. So I think that's it for this video. And the next video, I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to piece this together. But what I'm going to do first is get my design board out and lay all these pieces out on my design board. And then you can see that as well. And when you get your kit, once you purchase a kit, when you get your kit, all the pieces will be labeled just like I labeled the board. You can see on here, I put letters on my board. See, I wrote with a Sharpie the letters so I know which shape is what. And when you get your kit, I will have stickers on all the pieces that shows what piece is what. And then if you watch my video and put together this block, you'll be able to put this block together without the pattern. But if you want the pattern, you can purchase the book, probably on Amazon. I'm sure it's still out there. So, yeah, I think that's it. Okay, guys, we'll see you. I will see you at the sewing machine when we sew this together.